Thank you guys so much for coming back to the Queens Yanks channel. We appreciate your feedback and your comments and all your likes so much. So, if you're a USMNT fan, we got some news this morning. 2021 USMNT Gold Cup roster dropped. And we've got some surprises, some pleasant surprises, and some kind of head scratchers. So instead of doing your typical roster reveal video, I decided to do something a little bit different called Love It, Like It, Replace It. So basically it's pretty self-explanatory. If you want a complete roster breakdown, I suggest going to look up 11 Yanks with Pete. You know, he does a great breakdown of all the positions and all the players. He and I share a lot of the same thoughts, so instead of regurgitating a lot of the same information that he shared already, I decided to do things a little bit differently. So with that said, let's get into the roster. We'll start with the goalkeepers. That's the easiest one since there's only 3 anyway. So the guy that I love is obviously Matt Turner. I think he is our solid number 3 right now, and I think he's going to use this to try to overtake Stefan or Horvath, who I think is 1 and 2 right now. In the past, I actually said Horvath should be the starter even before the Mexico game. And in fact, I tweeted this years back and I got this response. And then after the Mexico game, that same person I went and looked up, I got this response. So as you can see, still a little bit salty about that. But no, Matt Turner I think is a good, I think he fits the team really well. I think he's the bona fide starter. I don't know specifically how he's going to fit Berhalter's system, as Berhalter likes guys who play with their feet really well and out of the back. We'll see how he handles that. And that's one of my criticisms with Berhalter, is he tends to go with players who fit his system versus the most talented guy. And I believe if you're a good coach, especially on the national team, you should adjust your tactics to how your players are, to put the most talented guys on the field. But I digress. So we'll go with the like it, and this might surprise people, but the guy I like is going to be Brad Guzan here. I think there's always a place for a veteran goalkeeper who's been there, and Guzan's been with the program a long time. Mainly Tim Howard's backup. He and Nick Raimondo kind of split time there as that backup role for a little bit. So I think he can bring some leadership, and I believe he can help some of the young guys out, especially Turner. Will I get worried if he has to play? Yeah. I mean, he's going on 37 years old at this point. He's not the guy he used to be back when he was playing for Aston Villa, even though he wasn't necessarily the best back then either. But nonetheless, I like it. Now, the guy that I say replace is going to be Sean Johnson. I see some people say Sean Johnson's playing the leadership role. Well, how is he playing the leadership role when he has less than 10 caps for the U.S. team? And I don't even think those were deserved, to be honest with you. I think we can do far better from the leadership role. I'm better with a guy like Guzan playing the leadership role than Sean Johnson, even though he fits Berhalter's system, I think, a little bit better. Now, that said, I would rather if this spot went to a younger guy, similar to how Ochoa came in for the CONCACAF Nations League. You can make an argument it should have been Ochoa, but at the same time I get it. He already missed time with his club already released him for the Nations League. He's starting to get some first team minutes, so I get it. But I still think somebody else should have came in, maybe JT possibly. But nonetheless, I say replace Johnson. So we'll just stick in the back. We'll keep going with defenders next. The guy that I love that's coming in as a defender is Shaq Moore. I'm glad to see him getting a chance and I hope he gets some minutes in. I don't think he's obviously going to be the starter, but I hope he gets some minutes and can prove himself. He's been playing in the Spanish second division, and I guess your fun fact for the show today is his team plays in the Spanish second division. But if you don't know about his team, go look him up. It's actually really cool. His team plays closer, probably just as close to Senegal in Africa as they are to Madrid. They don't actually play in Spain, although they're part of the Spanish league. I believe there's 2 teams in the Canary Islands actually, and he plays for one of them. But I'm really happy to see him make the team. The guy that I like that's going to be here is going to be Donovan Pines. And if you've been watching the series that I've got going on with my friend the Die Hard versus the Casual, I was decently high on Donovan Pines. In fact, he came in as one of my starters at center back on our non-capped list, so go check it out if you haven't already. He's really tall, moves quite well for his size, so I'm happy to see him here and interested to see what he can do on the national stage. The guy that I say replace is Sam Vines. It's nothing against Sam Vines, it's just I felt like he had his chance in Olympic qualifying and he completely bombed it out, in my opinion. So, not to say the guy shouldn't get another chance, but I feel like I feel like somebody else was more deserving than Sam Vines. Now granted, the defenders, there were quite a few that did not accept the call up. Cameron Carter-Vickers, Eric Palmer Brown. I've been reading that they all turned down a call up just because they're focused. They all belong to bigger clubs who've on loan, so they're probably working on their next loan or transfer at this point. So I get it. So we'll move on next to the midfielders, and in my opinion, this was the least. The midfielders is the guys who got selected. This is my least favorite out of the bunch, and in fact, it's quite worrisome in my opinion. But the person who I love that made the team is Busio. He's an MLS guy for now. I think he's pretty much written in stone. He's going to be going to Serie A soon. Multiple reports. There's up to 4 Italian teams interested in him. He may be playing in Venice, which is what I've been reading is kind of the taking the lead right now for his transfer. But I hope he gets a ton of playing time, and I can't wait to see what he can do. Now the player that I like in the midfielder position is going to be Eric Williamson. He's been playing very well for Portland for about 2 seasons now. I think he deserves this particular call-up for this particular tournament. I believe this might be his kind of... he's going to have to prove a lot if he wants to be with the program moving forward in World Cup qualifying, I think. But nonetheless, I'm glad to see him here. And replace, you could pretty much name anybody else for who would be my replace. But I think the top would probably be Roldan. I know Roldan's having a really good season for Seattle, but at the same time, when has he not played at least decent for Seattle? I think we know what to expect from him. I just think it's pointless to bring in guys like Acosta, Roldan. I like Jackson Ewell. I'm a fan of Jackson Ewell just because I grew up a San Jose Earthquake fan, but at the same time, I think he's kind of ran his course with me at this point, so I just don't see the point. But I'm going with Roldan at this point for my replace. So we'll move on to forwards. Taking a risk, I think, because we don't really have any wingers. I would have liked to have seen a guy like Cade Cowell get a call in here, but nonetheless, the person who I love that got the call up was Matthew Hoppe. Apparently Schalke wanted him to stay, but he wanted to come to the tournament, so I'm happy to see a guy that's has the itch to represent the U.S. like that. He's fighting for the spot for the starting 9, in my opinion, with Sargent and DK. Happy to see what he can do. I hope he comes in and lights it up. What's the worst he's going to do? So then the guy that I like that got the call up is going to be Giacchini. I'm going to have to go with him just because I'm a fan of the French league and I'm a fan of him. He's a little bit more versatile in my opinion than Hoppe. So he can. I believe he's probably going to play, somewhat on the wing. But he's scored when he's had a chance with the USMNT so far. Happy to see what he can do. And the guy that they say replace is probably the guy that most people would replace if they had to pick one guy, and that's Jonathan Lewis. I don't see what he brings to this team. That's a head scratcher for me. That means me to think that Berhalter goes with what he's comfortable with versus probably who deserves it. Now that said, overall, you can't say too much about this team because there were a lot of guys that I think Berhalter wanted to come in, like Julian Green, like some of the guys I mentioned before. But for whatever reason, either they denied the call up, like Luca Della Torre, or they had some team situations going on, like Julian Green, or some transfer loans, like the center backs I mentioned. So overall, it could have been worse. It could have been better. And that's just kind of, again, consistent with Berhalter, and I feel like that's how he's going to play some of these players too. I feel like Some of the guys that should be getting minutes aren't, and some of the guys that probably should be getting less minutes are going to be getting lesser minutes, or more minutes are going to be getting less or more. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's what we got to work with. My biggest concern is midfield. I don't see a lot of I don't think we're going to have a problem with the lesser teams like Haiti, but at the same time, you know, when we start playing teams like Canada or further up, when we get up to the actual tournament stages, it's going to be hard. Midfield worries me, you know, especially if we're going to be playing someone like Zardes a lot, who in my opinion can't create his own shot. He needs somebody to feed him. I don't know who's going to be feeding our guys, you know. So it's going to be interesting moving forward. Happy with some of these guys, very disappointed with some of these guys, but I think that's probably going to be consistent with everybody. So that said, thank you for checking out the video. Let me know who you think should have been on it. Who are you most annoyed with that made the roster? And comment, like this video, lets more people get to see it. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to have some more content coming to you. I'm hoping we can bring consistently 1 or 2 videos every week. So appreciate all the love, appreciate all the support. Thank you guys, and I hope you guys are having an amazing week.